All right, welcome everybody to Increasing Influence. I am Dave Cooper, and we have Mr. Myles Biggs, and I'm messing with my mic above my head. I'm sorry, you may mute me. But hey, listen, 52 weeks, special guest Jennifer is on with us today. Jennifer, why are you on with us today?
To give you guys props. I mean, this is amazing, right? 52 weeks of live streaming, Myles hitting crazy milestones. All of these terrific legends that we've had on Increasing Influence, all of these amazing lessons that we've learned. I couldn't contain myself.
I know it. This has been a wonderful week, Myles. I'm so happy that we were able to do a full year of shows together. I mean, you have just blossomed from a podcaster to a live streamer, video, book writer, TED talker. Jesus, man, there's too many of them. I'm tired of that.
Yeah,
I gotta go to the Myles Big School.
2020 was crazy. You've been like my quarantine buddy.
Say it again, Myles. Having a hard time hearing you, buddy.
Okay. Yeah, I got microphones on my headphones. I got microphone here. We're having tech issues today. Can you hear me?
Yeah, that's much better. Yeah, no, hey, listen, Myles, you said it before the show. As we're struggling to get audio right, the unseen work.
That's unseen work. Yeah, but I was saying that 2020 was a crazy year, and you were like my quarantine buddy. Just hanging out when the world was shut down. We got to meet people through this at least. It was really cool.
Absolutely. I mean, all of the amazing conversations that have been happening across the nation, across the world, on so many levels have brought us closer together.
Yeah. I mean, Myles, we have had guests throughout the industry and doing what we do on Dave Cooper Live and the Myles Biggs show on Increasing Influence, right? We're bringing people from all across the industry, all across the globe together in our conversations to further advance, what I love, which is the construction industry. What you love is helping people and sharing their stories. And the two of us have been colliding. So big shout out to you, Myles, and to everybody else that's been part of this journey out there.
Yeah, thanks.
Myles
great to be part of it.
Boom. Hey, we got a guest on the show. Let's say hi to Myles Biggs. 52 weeks, Dave Cooper Live. I love it. Hey, we also got Joel out there. What's happening, Mr. Joel Hutchins? Hey, Joel, are you stateside? Because we're heading north here in about a week and a half, my friend. Road show. Finally kicking off. Finally got through the paperwork.
Yeah, and you know what? When you think about all the challenges that everyone has had this year, and you still have accomplished so much, both of you, Dave and Myles, congratulations to both of you for really putting yourselves out there, setting goals that were probably in the realm of BHAGs.
Big, hairy, audacious goals. BHAG. Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
And you crushed them. I mean, Myles, did you make your list for year 31 yet?
Started to. There's some things I'll share soon that I can't share yet that I'm crossing off that list, which is exciting. So yeah, it's been crazy. It's definitely this past year, this included, was an example for me and hopefully for everybody that watches of how like the BHAG, right, the big hairy goal is oftentimes. This is a horrible visual, but saying hairy is making me think of a hairball, right?
Oh, God.
A hairball is made of individual strands of hair, right? So, the BHAG is like this crazy mashup of all these individual things that when you put them together look like it's this big monster of a hairball. This is horrible analogy. But that's where I'm going with this, is for me, it was a lot of little things that added up and fueled each other. And it's just crazy. I never would have expected when I started 2020 where it would have ended, but it was just saying yes to opportunities that made sense as the year progressed. And then you look back at it, and it's crazy all that can happen.
It is. And I think this year also was a good example of how saying no became a really big part of our lives. First of all, the world told us no on so many different levels, but something that we've embraced on our end, and it goes back to some classic books, that Dave has gone back to reading. It's saying no means saying yes to so many other things. Saying no to the things that aren't part of, what feeds you either professionally, personally, spiritually, emotionally, allows you to fill your jar with those big rocks, right? And get them in there.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah, we're back. I've been listening to the book, The One Thing. I think I'm on my third take now. If you don't know that book called The One Thing, definitely check it out. I mean, it's full of nuggets, and I listen to it when I work out and run just because it always brings me back to not getting distracted. Doing this, Myles, on increasing influence with you over the year has opened so many opportunities and so many conversations and so many different avenues of where we can go with this that, I mean, there was a time where we felt like we were on a hamster wheel, right? This is the power of, doing stuff like this. It just started coming at you, and then you got to sit there and go, wait a minute, what is that one thing that's going to keep us online, on track? How do we make a living outside of just promoting the industry and all of those things? So, yeah, they don't pay me to sponsor that book, but I love it. It's called The One Thing. Check it out. Joel, if you're flying over to Aussie land, that's a great book for you to listen to, but you're pretty good at the one thing anyhow.
Yeah, for sure. So, Myles, between the two of you, Dave and you, you brought on some amazing guests, on increasing influence. And a lot of times I'm behind the scenes and it's so hard for me to pay attention to the task at hand because I'm so consumed by the story. I'm so engaged with, everybody's drive and inspiration. And there was a lot of commonality between all of the guests on the show, which is find your passion, and sometimes your passion isn't super obvious. Sometimes you really don't know what your calling is. But so many of our guests found a way, much like the two of you have, to pivot at very young ages, at very important points of your lives.
So why don't we talk about the guests? Let's run through. Myles, you want to relive the past? You want to look in the rear view mirror?
It's funny when I watch the intro. It's like I see the phases of my beard and buzz cut, like getting longer, shorter. So yeah, let's do it. Let's take that memory lane walk even further.
Yeah, love it. All right, Jen, kick it off. Kick it off. We're going to just run down the list of guests, starting. I mean, we can go backwards, right?
Yeah, I mean, just recently we had on Mark Mitchell.
Mitchell.
Between his crazy socks and his spirited approach to marketing, in the building materials business, which isn't, super glamorous and sexy. It could be a little.
Mark makes it sexy.
Or should we say he makes it?
He makes it soxy.
Soxy. Oh, there you go.
Remember, he has his camera sock or his sock camera. How about a camera in your sock, Myles? We should try and pull that one
and even
off.
that, he said he literally has one pair of socks, a different pair of socks for every day of the year. So I want to see his sock drawers. Like, where do you store all those socks?
Right.
I love Mark's energy, though. What you said about passion, Dave, I think he's a great example of when you do what you love, it doesn't matter how long you do it for, because he's been in the industry for a long time and been successful for quite some time.
Yeah.
It feels like he's still excited to go to work every day because he loves it so much. And that definitely came through when he was talking about everything with us.
Yeah,
for sure.
I think we still have a banner from the show, but something that he was sharing with everybody.
That was i.e. Dave. Pay attention.
Is when you're building your personal brand, when you're starting out, when you're trying to get online and figure it all out, he said to everybody, don't let perfect get in the way, right? Yeah. Getting it done, allowing it to be good, sometimes it's just better than striving for perfection, right? Take that first step. Don't be stuck, in fear. And, that's good advice to anybody out there.
Found it.
Absolutely.
Found it. Good
job, Dave. And it's funny. It's that's something Brandon Polizuk, another guest later on we'll get to, said to me once when I interviewed him for Relish the Journey. The way he said that, was you have to put out the shitty video because he's a video producer. And he's like, you can't wait till you're perfect to put stuff out there. You've got to make and create and iterate, and it'll continue to get better. But you've got to make the horrible stuff so that you get to that point. And it's so true for all this. I look back at, the first couple that we did of this, we're trying to figure out a rhythm of who talks when, or I listen back to first podcasts. I cringe. But it's a great example of the progress you've made when you can look back and cringe because it means you've grown and you're not in the same spot you were, when you started.
And it's all about growing and it's all about moving forward. Sometimes it doesn't feel like you're moving forward.
The hamster wheel you're talking about.
That hamster wheel that you're just spinning around. But yeah. But Mark was a great guest on the show and many others. So who else? We had Oh, before Mark.
Yeah.
Hey, well, yesterday's show, by the way.
Oh my gosh.
Myles, did you caught some of the Auto Ball show,
I
right?
caught a little bit of it, but not all of it. Yeah.
Oh.
So I got to go back and watch it. I think he took you guys like into the factory, right? So I missed that part.
We set up we're on our way out to we're out on Utah and Idaho over the next 2 weeks here, 3 weeks, I think it is. So we are going to be the first ones to live stream
Nice.
from their factory. It'll be ready to go. They'll have all their IP, intellectual property in place, whatever it is. So as long as that happens, yeah, we're going to be the first one in the world to stream a highly automated, if not the most highly automated manufacturing facility in the world. How cool is that?
Yeah, I mean, that's a perfect example of, forward motion, right? And you feel like you're on a hamster wheel, but then that happens. And I texted you guys the screenshot when I was watching, and I see over 50 people on the LinkedIn live stream alone. And I remember when we started this a year ago, we were pumped if we got 5, right? And there's 50. So all that forward progress is awesome. That's really exciting.
Yeah, and those are the people that are letting you know that you're there, We go through, you say it all the time. There's so many people that just leave it in their feed, but they don't click into the show because now they're at work and it puts up the transcript below.
Yeah.
So you don't actually have to listen to us anymore, which makes it even harder for the algorithms. But I get it if you're at work, so it's kind of funny. We really struggle with that, trying to figure out how that works. But it's great because now people can actually at least hear what we're saying, and that's the whole goal. So you're absolutely right.
Yeah, but I think, the whole point was, don't let the fear of trying to be perfect get in the way. And then when you're talking about Audival and you're talking about our last guest, Merrick McComber, who is
Merrick in the house,
one of the head solutioneers at Audival, who just seemingly makes everything look perfect, with her big, broad attitude and her sunny outlook and her can-do, together collaboration spirit. You think to yourselves, I can't compete with that. I'll never be that high energy or that great or that passionate about something. But guess what? She keeps it fun. She keeps it real. And she's passionate about her message. So that energy is just so natural. It's effervescent.
Yeah. Look at you with the big words. You see the big words, Myles?
I did.
I know. I got to get my butt comfortable here. Oh my I think that's better. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, Merrick is full of energy. She was smiles the whole way. It's fun to see. We think a lot of our guests, when they come on the show, they don't ever know what to expect, right, Myles? I mean, everybody seems a little nervous sometimes. And, for us, it's funny. We just turn it on and go. We expect to make a mistake or say something silly. It's just the nature of the beast. But some of these guests that we have on, I mean, they just get on and shine.
They do. Yeah, and talk about influence with Merrick, right? She named the company, right? So that was a really cool story. And what really stood out to me for her was just, you used the word passion, but for her, what comes to mind for me was also determination. Like she knew a way she wanted to do it and a way she was not going to do it. Right. And she held her ground with the founder and owner of the company, right? And that stuck out to him, and he's like, okay, I'm going to let her do what she wants to do. And she got to do exactly what she wanted to do, and the result has been phenomenal. And you guys will see that in person, which is awesome as well.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm so excited about going to this manufacturing facility. One, not just because it's a manufacturing facility and has robots. That's just cool by itself. But I think what's really cool is the culture.
Yeah. And
being around people that have team members and solutioneers. They don't have employees. Everybody works in the same, playing field. You don't have offices overhead looking down type stuff. So lots of fun. All right, so we're heading out there. What else, Jen? Who else was on our show?
Oh my gosh!
One of Myles' guests.
I know. Well,
Myles brought. I think maybe she was one of the biggest guests on.
Well, I mean, there were so many big guests, but Kristen Schwarzeck from Align, the executive coaching group, and also author of Crashing into Grace. You think about Merrick, right? Very high energy, powerhouse. And then you think about Kristen, who is just so driven, right? And quietly driven. Not that either one of them are different, but certainly their styles are so different. Their brands are so different. Their messaging is so different. But they've each made it their own. And I think it was just such an amazing show of how, that pivot, right? That moment where you feel like, I found my calling.
And I thought with Kristen, that whole perspective too, where she touched on a lot of stuff, like the feeling stuff, right? The stuff that maybe a lot of people don't talk about, especially when we think construction industry and we think rough and tough and, the manly mans, right? But she's talking about, like the laws of abundance and attracting things and personal energy, and all of her videos on her profile involve like meditation, and she's talking about things like mental health and how that impacts the workplace. And it was neat to bring that side into it, I think. And then great to see the response from people in the comments of that when we were live, because it was one of those where I wasn't sure how people would react, but people were eating it up and having a good engagement on that show, which was cool. And another thing I liked about that was that was the first time I met her, was that interview, right? That was an example of, just making the ask of somebody. I was following her on LinkedIn because I saw a post and liked it. She used Dave's "do it scared" phrase in a post, and I just used that as the in to say, hey, I know a guy that says that. You should talk to us. And she did.
You're right. That's exactly how it came about. Sorry.
Yeah, it's a cool example of the internet and how, like, I think to increase your influence, you just have to put yourself out there and meet new people. Right. And doing shows like this allow you to have conversations with people you wouldn't ever normally meet or have a reason to talk to. But now we did, and because of that, we've got that interview in our back pocket that we can draw on and it'll live out there forever, which is really cool.
Yeah, and this is kind of what inspired this series. I mean, several years back, when Dave first started doing the videos, I mean, literally, and publishing them on YouTube, and same thing. We go back, we look at them, and we're like, oh, wow.
What was I doing?
I know. Look, it's funny. You're right, but at the same time, I would do it all over again because it's that raw, unfeathered. We all try and keep getting better and better, and more equipment and better sound, mics overhead, all the little things that you don't really need. Right. You don't need all these things. And, but we want these things. But yeah, I mean,
but
it was
even
real.
Back then, when you were doing that, people would walk in and say, I feel like I know you. Do I know you?
Yeah, we've talked about that.
Right. and when you build your brand online and you put that out there and people really feel like they know how to connect with you or how to speak with, they can instantly start speaking your language as you can with them. Yeah. Not only does it facilitate personal relationships, but obviously business relationships and networking and right. Driving business. I mean, that's what it's all about.
I love it. Hey, let's say hi to Mr. Greg Ugoldi coming to us from Twitch today. Dave, is that your driver with you today? Keep up the great work. Jen Myles. Well, yeah, Greg, that's how it works in our world, right? Greg, I'm driving because it's my job, and Jen writes while we drive together. And funny enough, I'm not the one that wears the pants in the family here, Greg. I mean, that's just the way it goes, man. We all know how this works. I get spatulas on the back of the head quite often. You know what I'm talking about.
I'm not even sure where to go with that, but
I have pants on now.
But you know what? It's funny. I think in any relationship, everybody has to know how to drive. Yeah. There's a lot of yin and yang out there with every relationship. And I used to joke. I remember coming from the corporate world when there were people at work and who would fight like spouses at work. Like they had just transcended that boundary. They had worked together for so long, male, female, female, female. It didn't matter, but you're just like, you guys need a break, Yeah. But that's the interesting part about like working in person and really getting to know everybody intimately. And now with this whole remote work from home thing, some of that is a little bit challenging to create those personal relationships with your colleagues when everybody is working remotely.
Yeah. Yep, it really is. And that's power, like with Myles, with his video, his live stream, what we do here. Yeah, 100%. It allows us to still personally connect. A lot of people that tune into our shows, we've never met them. I mean, we've had calls or talk with a lot of people, but that is the power. And that's what we really wanted people to get out of this year to help us grow the industry. Myles, we talk about all the time. The more people that we can get doing what we do and touting who they are and what they do, especially for what I'm so passionate about and when it comes to construction, we grow faster. The knowledge grows faster. The word travels faster. That there are better ways to build, better ways to communicate. ... And that's part of why we have this show. Because everybody'd say, "Why do you do what you do? Right? What do you do?
Right.
How do you do?" It happened all the time. What equipment do you use? Right? We get that.
Yep.
We get that all the time, and I think that it's a big testament to what we were doing, and I'm really hopeful that this show throughout the year really helps some people.
Yeah, I hope so too. And it's kind of cool because for me, being like I was an audio only guy until I let you drag me into this, Dave, which I'm thankful for. Like
He didn't kick, by the way.
Yeah, a little, but you couldn't see that progression, right? Like you couldn't see me progress or like go through that story. You just hear things. I do think it's different. Like people got to literally watch me and you on this day, but then you specifically for 6 days a week and see like the phases of your year and what was happening and hear those little personal tidbits and that does build the relationship even in the remote environment, like you were just saying, because you put it out there and then it kind of like, I wonder what's going on with Dave. Did he get the RV yet? What's going on? Right? They're tuning in for a little bit of that in addition to all the fun industry stuff.
Yeah. We do. How do you like our studio so far? We have backgrounds. We got lights.
I'm jealous. I gotta get some backlighting for me. I think I gotta up my game.
Oh yeah. Well, we can help you with that. Yep. But we're sitting in the RV right now. I love it. We got more stuff coming too. So stay tuned.
Yeah. And when you think about changing up backgrounds and changing up personalities and really defying the norm, especially as it relates to the genre or the platform that you're on, one of my all-time favorite guests to watch is Alex Sheridan.
Oh, Alex B. Sheridan.
He was an early guest. And it's been fun. Definitely fun to see what he's been doing since we talked to him too. But yeah, he's so consistent with that. He's still doing all those videos almost. I feel like we talked to him early on in 2020.
Dude, I bet his following nonstop. It's funny with people like that, right? Because he's inspiring so many people, from I can't outside of an industry. Like we're very niche on who our customers or audience, if that's the word, is. Where what you're doing and what he's doing. I mean, everybody can appreciate what he's doing. It's a little bit different, right? The conversation, how he goes about his increasing influence. I said we should come up with our own rap, Myles. Maybe that's what we do. Let's come up with a rap for our final farewell. We'll just the Myles and Dave rap.
All right, let's do it.
Jen can bebop with us.
There you go.
Oh my gosh, right? Yeah.
We'll get Greg Ugaldi.
My driver cap.
We'll get Greg Ugaldi, right? We'll get Greg Ugaldi to do a sideways cap, loosen up the tie a little bit, right?
We'll stream that on Twitch only, Dave. Twitch only. That'll be a Twitch exclusive. That rap.
Oh my gosh. It's awesome. And another fun guest who was a little bit of a quiet surprise, I would say, because I was expecting something so different, was the Note Closers show guest, Scott Carson.
Dude, was he full of energy?
He was. That's another person I've been following more since we talked to him. And it is, I feel like he just doesn't sleep. I mean, he's making deals all the time, left and right. It's really interesting what he's doing. And on the radio too. I mean, it's interesting.
Well, I mean, his story is so interesting, right, Myles? Because what did he do? He wanted to see all of the Major League Baseball parks across the country. Yeah. And out of that created this amazing network. Like that was a personal goal of his. Yeah. And out of it came this business network and the podcast.
Yeah. I feel like that is a theme for the people we talk to that seem to be very dynamic, very passionate, very successful, is they took that leap, like kind of an unrelated thing, and had no idea what was going to happen. They not waiting for it to be perfect. It's like I'm going to go every major league park. And then along the way, they were open to things or, even, geez, look at you two, right? I'm going to go live 6 days a week and who knows what's going to happen, right? That just jumping in and having faith that it'll work out. And then just being open to what comes. That's a common thread in a lot of the stories we heard from people, no matter what industry they're in or how they're approaching it. Like this kind of ancillary thing helped them figure out the business thing they wanted to do or be known for.
Well, talk about the converse of that is Dominic Roofran. right?
Yeah.
Who
NFL football player.
Right.
Yeah.
Had a
Yep.
professional athletic career, and thought that was the road that he was going down. And now he's wearing suits and ties, right?
Yeah, yeah. And his was a cool example of like he had the influence of being the NFL player, and he said about that like once you quit the league, nobody wants to talk to you. So it's like he almost lost his influence overnight, but then had to figure out how to build it back in a different way. And he uses that NFL moniker not to get a pat on the back, but it's a little bit different.
Right.
And now he's in the finance world doing all this stuff, and his main passion is philanthropic and building back and giving like building soccer fields and football fields for kids in underprivileged areas, and using that NFL thing that's going to follow him forever to give back to people versus just focusing on himself, which is really cool.
Yeah, it really is. And that is totally a theme, I think, with all of the guests is ways that they have found to give back in ways that they can, right? Either by sharing their story in a published book or, all the different businesses that they have on the side, all these different side hustles that they've created. They've found a way to really zero in on what they do, but have found that extra 5%. And I think that was Scott Carson who talked about that 5%. Just do 5% more each day.
That's right.
Right? And at the end of the year, you're at that 100% more.
That's right.
And in the beginning, it's very hard to wrap your mind around that. But when you think about all of the guests that you both have hosted on Increasing Influence, they all have that in common.
The one thing.
And that 5% extra.
That one thing.
Yeah, and the philanthropic giving back part, to talk about a perfect example of that was Jody and Gary Vermas.
Oh,
Get
my
money,
God.
do good.
Oh, amazing, right?
Stone Pile. Yeah, I mean that everything they're doing. Geez, that's the perfect example from adopting like 12 or 13 kids they have, and then
I don't know if the 13th one's official, but there's 13 kids,
yeah,
all from sex trafficking and troubled, backgrounds, and not just here in the world, but globally.
yeah. I remember in that interview there were moments where you're like, "What do you think, Myles?" And I was just silent because I was like, "I don't know what to think. I don't know what to say right now. I'm just taking in what they're bringing to this conversation." It was empowering.
And these are people in our industry too. They own Base for Architecture, or one of the owners, I should say.
AEC firm. I mean, it's like amazing what they do. I mean, they're industry leaders. They started their own college.
They did, Stone Pile Construction College, just to teach offsite people. And you want to talk about giving back, and it's for students that are not your traditional college students. So all you have to do is write a letter, kind of a page or whatever, why you want to attend. You need a high school diploma or a GED, and it doesn't matter if you've been to prison or wherever. It allows you to get in to actually have a chance to get a 2-year, 4-year, or a master's program in construction management. And they teach you the way that somebody like myself needs to be taught, right? Because school was not my gig in high school. I say that all the time. But look at us now. Now we're streaming into universities.
Yeah.
I don't know how that happened, but
That's literally your gig, right?
yeah. But the reality of it is they're really reaching out and meeting the younger generation that is not geared to go to Harvard or Yale, and saying, hey, this is how our programs work. Doesn't mean you can't get a college degree. We're going to teach you the way you like to learn. That's hands-on, that's visual, that's real conversation with your peers, and that's what they've been doing. That's cool.
Yeah, and then speaking of college, Justin Wynn of Declassified College podcast on the opposite side, more the traditional route, but I thought that was cool. I mean, he's a young 20-something, could not get an internship. And so he figured out, instead of complaining about it, he built a company around it, which is amazing. And now he's helping college students declassify, and he's giving all the cheat codes for college. Right. And I've seen his following because I've helped him out, and he's helped me out where he's been a guest in some of my shows. I gave a talk to his intern program that he brought on for the podcast. He had like 30-some interns, which is amazing. But he's really blowing up, and he's putting out great content, actionable content to help people navigate how do I get an internship, how do I get scholarship money. He was doing stuff about how to get stimulus money that's given to the colleges that students could access in a certain way, and he's just nonstop on the content. And it's a good example of just some people could kind of complain, be woe is me, and other people turn their problem into a business that helps other people.
Yeah, it becomes an opportunity. Let's go here. Greg has a question for you, Myles.
All right.
How is Myles balancing his family life? Has it been major revisions to his business plan?
Sure.
That's has your success caused you major revisions to your business plan? That's what I'm hearing.
And the birth of your second son. I mean, obviously you've packed more in your day than most.
Yeah. So, thanks for the question, Greg. I would say I planned this into the plan, right? So when we found out we were pregnant, well, my wife was pregnant, but as a family we were expecting.
You don't look pregnant, Myles.
Another. Yeah. No. I got back to my fighting weight real quick. I planned for it. So when it came to my day job and my side hustles and things like that, I worked ahead as much as I could. And when it came to content creation in general, I mean, this show with Dave was the main thing I've been doing actively for the past 5 months. At the end of November, my main podcast, Relish the Journey, I had all of the episodes recorded, edited, scheduled for release on social media and stuff through May. So like I'm working on the next season of Relish the Journey now, but I worked ahead so I didn't have to worry about making anything. Right. And that gave me time to kind of rest and reflect, enjoy the family, and then also plan for what is next for me after the book and the TED Talk, which you were alluding to, Dave, with my live stream, that I started a live stream for that on Wednesday nights about the idea of unseen work. And so I'll have that show now. I'll have Unseen Work, and then Relish the Journey will be just specifically on fatherhood versus broad, like Unseen Work would be broad. So I definitely have made sure I've taken the time to enjoy the new one and family life. But other than that, the plan's still the plan. I've got the systems in place and skill sets in place where I can get a lot done in a short amount of time. Yep. So, I get up at 4 o'clock now to exercise and stuff before the kids wake up, and I can work on my stuff before everybody wakes up, and I'll go to bed a little bit later, and I do all that stuff when everybody else is asleep so that I'm there for them, and then I do my hobby stuff, my business stuff on either end, right? So
that's so funny, Myles. Dave and I talk about that all the time. How do you squeeze it all in? And with everything we've had going on, it's my quiet time has become like that 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. window, where you're getting up, I'm going to bed. And sometimes you can, with that deep work, right? With that deep work time, uninterrupted, no phones ringing, no social media buzzing. I mean, you can really be productive.
So how much sleep do you get then?
That's not what we're talking about.
Well, it's funny. I'll tell the example because I've been tracking my sleep because I've been curious, like how much sleep do I actually need versus like you should have your 9 to 10 hours, right?
Right.
I've learned that if I get 6 hours, I'm good to go. And sometimes if I get 7 hours, I feel worse than if I get 6.
Right.
And so I can track that with, all of our technology and my watch and phone and stuff. It'll tell me when I get it and when I don't. But I feel more awake when I get up at 4 versus when I get up at 5. I get my workout done and I'm done with my workout at 5. No one else in my house wakes up till like 6:30. Right. Now I'm up. I got the endorphins flowing. I can sit down. I can be planning content. I can be writing stuff. I can be editing or just enjoying a cup of coffee and staring out the window, right? And having that like just rest time. But you can do all of it even and still sleep, right? It's not like you have to never sleep to get it done.
Yeah, and when you think about it, it's one thing when you're like doing this on your own, right? We have some co-hosts, we have you, we have Mark Willie, and you have guests, but when I think about some of the other folks who are on Increasing Influence, where they have to do all of that and coordinate with their partner, is the Build Perspectives podcast with Carolina Albano and Tim Sims.
Yeah.
I think they're in the same time zone, but they each have their day jobs, they each have their family life, and then they co-host this amazing podcast, which takes more coordination. In addition to all of their 9 to 5 responsibilities, it comes down to time management.
Yeah, for sure.
It does come down to time.
Yeah. Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, just like listening to your story, answering Greg and other things, you knew that you had a newborn coming, and you actually planned out all your podcasts. You planned all these things out to get them out of the way. When I say get them out of the way, get them done, because you knew you were going to need that extra time to support your wife and having the newborn in the house. I think that's what it's all about. It's about planning. It's about knowing knowing where you're headed and how you're going to get there, and kind of working a plan, right? Plan your plan and work your plan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, because if you don't schedule your time, it gets scheduled for you.
Oh, every day. I'm horrible at it. Can you give me some instructions?
I literally schedule out, like, I'm going to eat lunch. I'm going to wake up. I'm going to work out. I'm going to eat lunch. Family time will be a block in my calendar, right? And then it's like, you have to have it, because what you're saying about deep work, Jen, it's amazing when you go in and say, okay, here's my list. I only have an hour. And you just like dial in. You get more done in that hour than you do like moseying around, doing it when you can. So
right.
You can get so much done, but you have to want to get it done. And then you have to take that steps to plan to get it done. Otherwise, it won't get done and other things will get done, right? Because people will then take your time instead of you taking your time for yourself.
That's right.
Yeah. I mean, we have such great examples. I mean, we had JT Ramsey, right, from Lockheed Martin. We had Gigi Stetler from
RV,
the RV expert. Spencer Powell from Builder Funnel. I mean, all of these people are super busy in their day job.
And Byron Lazine, I'd add to that one too.
With everything we had Byron Lazine. And who else did we have? I'm looking at it. Bill Ryman from Florida was on. He's doing an amazing thing. Yeah. You know what's amazing is all of these people are kind of just, if everybody's listening and really taking this in, they're doing all the things that we keep talking about doing, and they're being super successful. Their businesses are growing, their personal brands are growing. And I mean, this stuff isn't a joke. It really is powerful tools, but it's also not something that happens overnight. It doesn't even really happen. I mean, a year. If we haven't, because really Jen's doing the bulk of the work behind the scenes. If we aren't going live 6 days a week for a year, it would probably take us another 6 months to a year to get as far as we've gotten, just because we've been creating so much content and conversation.
Yeah. Well, I'd add to that for you guys too. I'm sure in some way, like, you guys have boxed out other people from getting in, like competition. Because if I'm in construction, I'm like, I want to live stream. I look at it. Well, this guy's already doing it every single day. How am I going to do it differently than what he was doing, right? Like, you're there. You just like put a flag down on, like, this is mine, right? This is your land grab, and you're there every day patrolling it to make sure no one else is putting a flag down. And it's like, I think that's part of it. Is it would have taken you longer, but also if you left that gap open, I think somebody else would have filled it too, and then it would take you a little bit longer to get there, and it would be harder to monetize what you're doing because other people would be trying to make the same grabs and asks that you are. But since you did it the way you did, you're really one of the only games in town for the construction industry doing this type of thing.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny that you see it that way, because when you're on the inside looking out, sometimes you wonder what others see, right? It's hard. Like, those mirrors don't always exist. And what you're underscoring, Myles, is really the BHAG again. We didn't make the goal of we want to box everybody out. We made a pretty big, audacious goal, and the trickle down effect has been X, Y, and Z. All of these different things. It's about jumping off that cliff and not knowing what is on the other side. And that's what we've been trying to do across the board, is inspire others to dream, to think big, to figure out that vision, and not be afraid. Do it scared if you have to, but do it confidently and do it with passion and do it authentically, in a way that's right for you.
Yeah, and do it consistently like you guys have been.
Yeah, it's a big deal. Like Jen said, when I so graciously threw both of our names into the hat for 6 days a week back then, sometimes it was just kind of a gut feeling. We were having fun doing the show. We knew there was something there. Jennifer's the one that said that, hey, you should start interviewing people. So this wasn't a Dave Cooper idea. It was a Jennifer idea. I was just the face of it. And I think that we went out there and just started putting the mic in front of people at trade shows, right? And once we got a few heavy hitters to start allowing us to do that, and other people, it just caught on. But I remember how nervous and scared I was, at first. But I agree. We set a goal, and the goal didn't have a business plan attached to it at the end. The business plan kind of grew out of what we were starting to feel as we were going through it. We just knew that there was a void in our market for people talking, collaboration, And like you said, Myles, nobody was doing it the way we were doing it. There's people in the industry doing video and film, but nobody was bringing the conversation live across the globe, right, to bring awareness to what's going on in our industry. And that was there's always an unexpected surprise. And sometimes you think you're going down this path, and then you hit that fork in the road, the fork that says, life and longevity if you go right, and happiness, or if you go left, all the bacon you can eat, right? I mean, there's a decision to be made there, right? So.
Yeah, but there's a lot of great people working for major brands out there who are trying to walk that fine line, right? Okay, this is my brand's brand, right? This is my company brand, and here's who I am. Like, how do you bring those two things together? And you both have talked about that in a super big way. And when I think about the guests who have shared their stories, Jenny Kelleher from Rise, and Jenny Millman from, first from James Hardy, that's where we first met her. And now she's a brand creator for Dometic and Tempo and all these different things. I
know Dometic does RV stuff, motorhomes. Jenny, you are going to be.
You got an in.
You and I, we're brother and sister from here. I mean, yes, thank you.
Right, but they were able to transition from one company to another and still maintain their own personal brand on social media, and really be an ambassador for the brand that they represent as well. They didn't miss a beat. And I think that's really, something people worry about. If they work for a company that is, one side of the spectrum, but in their personal life they're a whole different side of the spectrum. How do I bridge that gap? And what story am I telling online?
That's right.
That's something, Myles, that you've coached people on, multiple times.
Yeah. I think the key there too is just make sure you're telling your story. Like, even if you're telling the brand's story, I mean, you're not that company, you're you. So you can work at that company and say, here's what this company's doing, and I work there, and here's my perspective about what's happening. But it should be yours. It's your LinkedIn, it's your face on the LinkedIn profile, right? Like, be you. And as long as you are you and that doesn't change, the brand on your resume can switch and adjust. It's still your perspective now on a slightly different topic. And hopefully, it's easiest when you're working with brands that align with your own personal beliefs. So it's not like you're saying one thing and you're doing something over here that's completely different, or competes with that idea for your career.
And that was something that I think Jenny Millman was really able to lean into, because she has this way of, when she's working with clients or speaking to people, like, she really listens. She asks them questions. Right. She gives them a chance to share their story. She listens to what they say. She repeats it back. And then she's able to create a brand story for them that has nothing to do with her. She's such a chameleon that way. And I really give those types of people a lot of credit who can see things.
I mean, they just launched it. Before doing the Dometic, she launched a product line that you can order it now online with another company. So she's really out there doing it differently and making it happen. And like you said, Myles, being you, right? And not being somebody else. Guess what, everybody? There's only one you.
Yeah.
Share it, because, a lot of people don't understand there's a lot of people that are the same out there, and sharing you will inspire a lot of other people that are similar to you out there.
Yeah, and another guest was Sarah Noose, right? Didn't she start with Tippy Toes?
Yeah, Tippy Toes Dance. And then she was on Shark Tank.
Right.
She published a book called Destined for Greatness. She's got a podcast called Destined for Greatness. She's in my book along with Dave. I met her through podcasting. Another person I just reached out to cold online and said, hey, I like what you're doing. We should talk. And she was gracious enough, and now we're good friends and talk back and forth all the time. But her story is definitely one of, she started Tippy Toes Dance, because she didn't want to work for somebody else, and she wanted to do what she loved, and she loved teaching dance to kids. And then she figured out she could franchise it, and we took off from there. And now she does the podcast, and she's an accountability coach and author, and she is just herself. You look at all of her content, it's just her personality, and she's not really talking about Tippy Toes that much. It's just her and her thoughts. And then you find out, she does Tippy Toes, and then if you want to do business with her, that's there for you, right? So she's a great example of that. Absolutely.
Yeah, and another person who, I mean, talk about superstar effect, and same story where, you just reached out online was Mayan Gordon.
Yeah.
Mayan.
World's biggest TikTok influencer. You just randomly
billion views. Yeah.
Yeah. No, she was a lot of fun too. She lived in a motorhome as well.
Yeah. And she's someone that's doing it her way, right? That's a perfect example where you can't fit her inside of any sort of mold. She found her way to break through, and she gets to do what she loves to do, just being herself. And now, in a way, teach other people how to do it and replicate what she's done for themselves. And she's sharing the wealth that way, which is great.
Yeah, and talk about overcoming hurdles and things that she's done. Another great story. And then, I'm trying to think who else we've missed. Etienne Googler was one of our very first guests.
Etienne
from Sega North America.
CEO of Sega North America, and he's all but 25. What the hell is he?
I know, he's like a terrific guy, young guy, but with such a positive outlook and in a role where you don't think that you're like, who is this person? And then, giving back and connecting people, constantly connecting people. So he was a terrific guest.
Yeah, I mean, we could go on and on and on and on and on. I mean, we've had so many different guests, and if you are listening and we didn't call out your name, it doesn't mean you weren't a great guest. It's just we have a full year's full, so we'd have to do multiple shows of this.
Yeah, but one guest we can't forget. I know, one we can't. And if you see me looking at my phone, it's because he's messaging me. Congratulating both of you on 52 weeks is Professor Nez.
Professor Nez.
Guess that was him. Yeah.
52 weeks straight, Professor Nez, 6 days a week. You're absolutely right. I mean, who would have thought we could have got the professor on our show, right? I mean,
well, it's just another example of somebody who is just such a genuine human first, and then he does all these other things second. He's always been available during our interview and then after the interview. I know for both of us, if I've had a question or bounce an idea off him or anything, he's been there as a great resource. He's doing amazing things for a lot of people, and just by being himself and giving.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, he's overcome some major personal challenges that he has shared online and with his students, with his clients, to inspire others and, talk about not being afraid, because a lot of people don't want to show their vulnerabilities online. And don't know how to, again, bring those worlds together.
Yeah.
But he has really turned it around. He's helping millions of people. He's accessible. He's online all the time.
He is.
And such a great conversation the two of you had with him.
Love it. I love it. So, Myles, I mean, there we go, man. We're in and out, 50 some minutes. I know you have some big news coming up in the future. Looking forward to hearing all about it. I'm looking forward to what the future holds as well. So I think, with this show, I mean, we're going to kind of be wrapping this down, increasing influence, and it doesn't mean we're ending increasing influence. We're going to wrap it down, and we're going to come up with some new programming and some other things that we're working on. This has been an outstanding year, Myles, and I really appreciate you and everything that we've done. And I think we're going to have one last round out party. What do you say?
Let's do it. I'm in.
One last round out party. All right, everybody, listen, thank you so much for joining us today. We actually had quite a few people on Twitch and LinkedIn and Facebook and YouTube, so that was great. And, people from around the world always tuning in and listening. I put it up earlier. Greg Ugaldi had a comment with 4 kids about a ton of obligation. It's all about checklists and organization, and he's absolutely right.
Yeah.
There it is. Sure. How do you get it done? Checklists and organization. I never put that up on the screen, do I?
I know, right?
That's never part of my soapbox. All right, Mr. Myles Biggs, thank you for all of your time and hard work this year. Thank you for an amazing show. I think we're gonna have one last sign-off party. We're working behind the scenes to come up with that's going to be celebrating, one full year with everybody that's helped us do it. And then we're going to be doing some reprogramming and some new shows coming up, and I'm sure Myles will be part of some of those as well. I love it.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what you got for us next, you guys, and I appreciate you bringing me along for the ride. It's been a lot of fun. So thank you.
It has been a lot of fun, and we got some trade shows. We got IBS, Myles. We're going to do our annual walkthrough at IBS. What do you think?
We'll see. We'll see if I'm there.
Streaming live. You'll be there. You better be there. All right, listen, everybody. Thank you so much. Please join us tomorrow at 1 p.m. for BS Friday with the Mark Bare Naked Willie. As always, we have great content to put out there. We're going to be talking about building science and having a lot of fun doing it. And if you didn't sign up, you missed a great event prior to this, a pollinator event, right, Jennifer? Why don't you tell us a little bit about it so everybody knows where to find it? I put it in the link last night.
Awesome.
Cross-pollinator.
Yeah, cross-pollinator event, which was so funny, Myles. It started out as an April Fool's joke, so happy April Fool's to everybody, where everyone was on sharing stories.
Oh, yeah, don't believe anything we said if you watched the beginning of it. It was an April Fool's joke in the beginning.
Really a lot of fun because we don't, we share stories and we share inspiration, and we need to get better at sharing laughter.
Yeah.
And today was a terrific example of how we all shared our communities, brought people together. Our code names were Sunny and Cher.
Nice.
Spelled SUNNY and
SHARY. Yeah. Can't spell. Yeah, and we had fun. And guess what? I mean, we talked about the new state-of-the-art factory that we're building, and it's going to be run by methane from Adam White's goats in England. So
nice, perfect.
He's going to be shipping his stuff over because he has this product called. I hate saying it even.
No, don't say it. Anyway, we digress. But it's all about sharing, bringing communities together. And congratulations, Myles, on all of your accomplishments over the last year, to include 52 weeks of increasing influence with Dave Cooper.
Yeah, but I can say it's Adam White. It's his product. Actually, it's on the market. Is fuck you, PH with a PH.
No, fuck off.
Oh, fuck off. No.
No.
Well,
perfect context there.
From a marketing term, it has gone international. When you think about people on job sites and workers and stuff, I mean, it becomes a big joke, right? I mean,
hey, Bill, pass me the.
What? That's you. I can see it now, right? I know, but it's a brilliant marketing campaign, and so he's going to ship us a bunch of the goat feces in his FU cans. I love it.
Nice.
All right, Myles, listen, buddy, thank you so much. Hang tight. We'll come back to you after the show. Everybody else that is out there, have a wonderful day. We'll see you tomorrow, and I will also see you Saturday morning. Coffee with Dave. Bye now.